It's September 9, 2021. I'm Todd Dunn, and today I'm just kind of looking around the waterfront. Right now I am in Bernard on Bass Harbor. Bernard is the village on the west side of Bass Harbor, and we're just going to take a look at the harbor. Well, it's high tide right now, as you can see, and it's a pretty high tide. I don't know exactly how high. I didn't look at the tide table to get a number, but just from looking at things, I can tell you that this is pretty high. Most of the lobster boats are in for the day. They've finished fishing. I can see just one dinghy out there. So that means there's basically one lobster boat out. And there might be a couple more on the other side. As you can see, Bass Harbor is not much of a leisure boat harbor. As a matter of fact, this part of the harbor is all lobster boats. This is the town dock, and the harbor master's office is right there. Town dock is used mostly by lobster fishermen. And if we come over here, that dock over there is Up Harbor Marine, and it is the only place to moor a leisure boat at a dock in Bass Harbor. And as you can see, pretty much all the boats out here are lobster boats, and these floats out here belong to lobstermen, as you can tell by the gear on the floats. Right here between these two docks is the boat ramp, and as far as I know, the boat ramp is free to use. There is parking up the hill a little bit for trailers, which is, I believe, also free. And this is a good place to put in if you want to cruise around Blue Hill Bay or out toward Gotts Island or Swans Island. And basically just a few leisure type boats out there, and a few sailboats, 1, 2, 3, 5 altogether. So the vast majority of the boats here in Bass Harbor are lobster boats. And just a few boats over there at Up Harbor Marine. And they are completely full normally and don't have any transient space. So and I think they have a multi-year waiting list to get dock space there, because they only have room for about a dozen boats. Okay, so this is the village of Bernard from the dock, and today I think the lobster boat fleet is in early because it's only about 1:30, and the reason they're in early is that the weather is supposed to get really quite nasty this afternoon, and any time now it's supposed to start raining. And our forecast is calling for up to 3 inches of rain in the next 18 hours. So it's going to be wet, and although it's flat calm in here, out on the open ocean today, the wind is blowing in the middle 20 knot range, and seas are in the 4 to 5 foot range. So if you're going out to lobster fish outside the protected harbors here, it could be a lumpy day. Okay. On the other side of the harbor is the village of Bass Harbor itself, over there, and way out toward the end of the harbor, I don't know if you can make it out on the video, there's a green dock assembly. That is the ferry dock if you want to take the ferry over to Swans Island or out to Frenchboro on Long Island. Okay, let's go someplace else and have a look at what's going on today, September 9, 2021. Okay, I'm leaving the Bass Harbor Town Dock here in Bernard. Both Bass Harbor and Bernard are in the town of Tremont, which is the westernmost town on Mount Desert Island. It makes up pretty much the western quarter of the island, except for the very northern part of the island. And there are a number of villages here in Tremont: Bass Harbor, Bernard, West Tremont, and Seal Cove, and another one called Center. And we're going to go out to Seal Cove, which is the location of the town of Tremont's second boat ramp and town dock. And it is on the west side of the island and is a spot where you can look west over Blue Hill Bay. So it's starting to rain a little bit, so you may see windshield wipers a little as I drive out here. I'm not going to video the whole drive because it takes about 8 or 10 minutes and you don't really need to see these little 2-lane roads as I drive through them, but I'll keep the video going until we get out of this part of Bernard. Anyway, once we get to Seal Cove, and it's a little tricky to find if you don't know where it is, you're probably going to have difficulty finding the right turn. But at Seal Cove, the town has a picnic area right on the waterfront, and there's a fairly long stretch of waterfront that you can walk at Seal Cove, although you'll be walking alongside the road, but there's very little traffic out there. Okay, we're going to turn left here now that we're back out to Route 102 and head north up the west side of the island. And I'll turn this back on when we get a little closer to Seal Cove. Well, this is, if you will, downtown Seal Cove. And as you can see, it's just houses a little more closely spaced. We just passed the fire station where there are a couple fire trucks, and there was also a small post office back there. That's about it. Now we're going to drive up here just a little bit further until we get to the left turn to go out to the actual cove of Seal Cove. Okay, after we leave Metro Seal Cove, we go about a quarter mile, maybe 3/8 of a mile, and we get to Cape Road. And this is the road that actually goes over to Seal Cove, although you would never guess it just from what it looks like. And we will drive over there. And it isn't very far down here before we get to the water. This is a loop road. It goes out to a point and then back in a little further north on the island. And as I said, it isn't very far down here till we get to the water, maybe half a mile altogether. And I noticed that they have repaved the road this year, and it's pretty recent because they have not yet put the lines back on it. And you can see light above the trees there. That is out over Blue Hill Bay. And we will be right down here to Seal Cove in just another 100 yards. And I will park and we will walk around a little. Okay, here we are looking out over the water at Seal Cove, which goes from that point over there to the point over there on the other side of the two catamarans, which are anchored outside the moorings. And this is looking pretty much straight west across Blue Hill Bay. And although you can't see it because it's hazy and everything. Right across there is where the Blue Hill Bay Lighthouse is that I mentioned in my last video. And right down by that tree next to the water is a picnic table, which is part of the town of Tremont's sort of Seal Cove Park. And it is high tide right now. And you can see this is another mooring area. More lobster boats, mostly lobster boats, just a few pleasure boats. And right up here, we will find a small park and picnic area that belongs to the town of Tremont. I'm not going to walk around out here too much because it is starting to rain. But we'll go in and have a look. Okay, here's the picnic area. A couple picnic tables and a bench. Another bench where you can look out over Blue Hill Bay. And it's quite a nice place to come. There are usually very few people here. I've never been here when there was any kind of crowd, or when there would have been any trouble at all finding a place to sit down and have a little picnic. Okay, so I'm going to walk across the picnic area to the other side, and we'll take a look at the boat launch here. The fact that it's raining now, although I'm under a tree so it doesn't seem like it's much, makes this a good time to have a GoPro, which is waterproof. Okay, this is the Seal Cove boat launch, and you can park your trailer over where those cars are parked, although you probably have to unhitch it. And here's the inner cove. And as you can see, it's almost exclusively lobster boats. There's one small sailboat over there. And that's about it for boats with moorings in the inner cove. Here's the boat ramp. It doesn't look much at high tide, but it goes out there quite a ways. So you can launch here all except at low tide. And the dock all the way along the side makes it easy to control your boat as you launch it. And up that way, there are no moorings because it's quite shallow. There's a lot of water there now because we're at about a 12-foot tide today, I think. So tide goes out, there's 12 feet less water and not a lot of water to float your boat. Now this is not a bad cove to be in most of the time, although it is, as you can see, wide open to the west. So when we get a strong westerly wind, it can be kind of nasty in here. But this is another boat launch here on Mount Desert Island. This one, like the Bass Harbor boat launch in Bernard, is free to use. It's a good place to put a kayak in, a sea kayak, if you want to kayak out to any of the islands in the middle of Blue Hill Bay, which are all unoccupied and nice places to visit by kayak. Although bear in mind, Blue Hill Bay, because it is fairly long north to south, can get a little choppy. Anyway, I'm going to move on. Okay, I'm going to leave the picnic area and boat ramp. We'll walk back up this way a little bit, and I think we'll end the video here looking west across Blue Hill Bay. I'll just say a couple more things about this particular part of Mount Desert Island. Here in Mount Desert Island, particularly on the western side of the island, public access to the waterfront is very limited. You can access it at the town docks on Bass Harbor, and there is a little beach out past the Bernard Town Dock called Back Beach that's public. You can go out to, although not very many people know where it is. And there's the Pretty Marsh picnic area, which is about 2 miles further north up the west side of the island, that's in Acadia National Park. And there is Seal Cove here. And this is the only place on the actual west side of the island where you can access the water for free. And also, because this is wide open to the west, it's a great place to come and maybe watch the sunset, maybe sit at a picnic table down there and have a little late picnic and look out over Blue Hill Bay as the sun sets. And it's really very beautiful at sunset. Okay, with that, I think I'm going to end this video. Thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please give me a like. And if you haven't, please consider subscribing to my channel to see more content like this, in addition to boating content and lots of other things. Thanks for watching.